Hello everybody, it's early o'clock on a spring Easter Monday back in April of this year, and I've just arrived at my local tube station to catch a train down to Waterloo, because today I'm heading back to the Isle of Wight. You may have seen my video last year of my visit to the Isle of Wight steam railway, where I purchased my model of the Adams O2 tank engine Calbourne in malachite green livery. The real Calbourne is based on the Isle of Wight, but unfortunately it wasn't running when I visited last year. It was just sitting outside the engine shed, so I didn't actually get a chance to see it running. The Steam Railway's glorious collection of SECR and LBSCR coaching stock was being hauled by the somewhat incongruous Hunslet Austerity industrial tank engine. Not quite my cup of tea. So here I am again at Waterloo to catch a train to Portsmouth Harbour, and then over to the island, where this time I've checked the roster and I know that Calbourne will be running. Much of the donkey work on the island is undertaken by the Austerity tank engines, the heritage locomotives such as the O2 being used more sparingly. Being an Easter bank holiday Monday, this is the only opportunity I have to film Calbourne running, and it will be the first model review I've done where I can compare the model to the real actual prototype. As I speed through the Surrey and Hampshire countryside, it's then on to the ferry for the trip across to the island. Well, it's a bit overcast, but at least it's not actually raining. Upon arrival at Ryde, I boarded a rail replacement minibus because the train wasn't running along the pier that day. Because I'd arrived earlier than expected, I had some time to kill, because Smallbrook Junction, the station you have to go to for the steam railway, wasn't open yet, so I walked through the town to Ryde St John and then boarded a train from there. Having arrived at Smallbrook Junction, I set up my camera at the end of the platform, hoping that Calbourne would be hauling the first service of the day. My aim was to get a closer look at the locomotive and to record its sound for use in some of my model railway videos. While I was setting up, I had a brief chat with another YouTuber called the Wight Wanderer. What's your channel called then?
It's called Wight Wanderer.
Wight Wanderer.
Wight Wanderer, yeah. Have you got a channel?
Yeah, I'm Model Railway channel, Melchester Model
really?
Railway. So I'm doing a review of the O2 model, you see. So
right.
I wanted to like
the one by Kernow.
Yeah, EFE have just released it. So I wanted to juxtapose it with some real footage. You know.
Yes, absolutely. Have you got the model? Of
Yes.
Have you?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I've just had it sound fitted and so on.
The DCC.
Yeah. This is the model concerned, produced by Kernow Model Railway Centre and released under the EFE brand, initially back in 2021. While we're waiting for the real loco to turn up at Smallbrook Junction, let's take a quick look at the model down on the tracks at Melchester. And here it is. After the initial batch sold out, Kernow announced as part of the EFE rail range in the summer of 2024 a further 5 versions and livery variants. The malachite green livery version of number 24, Calbourne, as seen here, is sold exclusively through the Isle of Wight Steam Railway shop at Haven Street. I hear a distant whistle, so let's watch as the real Calbourne, number 24, sporting its malachite green livery, arrives at Smallbrook Junction with a 10:15 service from Haven Street. Jack, the Wight Wanderer, informed me that we were just a few days off the 100th anniversary of Calbourne's transfer to the Isle of Wight. Do check out the video he made about this occasion, the link in the description. It's nice to finally see these lovely southern coaches being hauled by a locomotive that would have hauled them when the rail network extended across the entire island back in former days, rather than the Hunset austerity. It was certainly worth the return visit, and the chance to see Calbourne under steam. After Calbourne had run around its coaches, I settled into a compartment immediately behind the locomotive for the 5.5 mile run to Wootton. Well, here I am finally on the Isle of Wight, and I'm travelling behind Calbourne, number 24, the Adams 02. So this is great fun. Travelling in a very nice coach. We're just approaching Ashy Station here. Here an owl gets startled and swoops down from its perch in a tree. We're just coming up now to Rowlands Lane Bridge, which later in the day I walked to get these shots of Calbourne passing underneath it. The train slowed down and came to a halt just outside Haven Street Station, where we waited for quite a long time. While we're waiting for the green signal, let's discover something about the history of this locomotive. William Adams designed the 02, an 044 tank engine for the London and South Western Railway, and 60 were built at Nine Elms between 1889 and 1895, primarily for London suburban traffic, and to replace the ageing BT Well tanks. Incidentally, EFE make a model of the BT Well tank as well. Like the Well tanks, the 02s eventually found themselves displaced by more powerful locomotives and were dispersed throughout the LSWR system, their short wheelbase and relatively light weight being well suited to restricted branch lines, where a number were fitted with mechanical and then the Southern Railway's air control push-pull system. As electrification expanded across the southern network, some examples were transferred to the Isle of Wight and fitted with Westinghouse pumps for air braking, as well as being given enlarged bunkers. They proved to be ideal for island duties and continued in British Railways use there until near the very end of steam, towards the end of 1966, several years after the mainland locomotives had been withdrawn. The only example to survive into preservation was number 24, Calbourne. Well, after a fairly longish wait, we've now been given the green signal to enter Haven Street Station. It's off once again behind Calbourne. Avon Street station provides a passing point for trains, and waiting on the other platform is one of the island's other heritage locomotives, Terrier number 8, Freshwater. The fireman is preparing to pass the single line working token to the signalman. Avon Street is where the island's Heritage Centre is based, containing their full collection of rolling stock and locomotives. If you'd like to see my tour of that, please see the link to the video I made of my previous visit. Well, after my brief stop at Avon Street, it's now on to the final destination on the line, Wootton. Wootton, I get my first chance to have a close-up look at Calbourne, starting with the cab. Fortunately, there aren't the crowds that there were at Smallbrook Junction. The fully enclosed nature of the cab makes it hard to get a full view on the model, but you can see an excellent interior has been provided, following very accurately much of the detail present in the real cab of the locomotive. The line used to continue on to Newport, the island's central hub, where a line from north to south and east to west converged. These days the trains just stop here at Wootton. As Calbourne runs around its train, I can't help noticing what an excellent representation of the malachite green livery has been achieved on the model. It's not always an easy colour to pull off. Look at the recent Hornby M7 for example. Malachite green or more of an apple green. The EFE rendition of the O2 model has more blue in it than the Hornby model. Whilst the livery is a good match, the straw-coloured lettering and lining is a little on the light side on the model compared to the original. The 23 locomotives that were transferred to the island were all given names by the Southern Railway from 1925 onwards. These were named after places on the island. The model has the nameplate already printed on its side, but also comes with an etched nameplate that you can glue into position yourself, as I've done here. Back at Avon Street now, and a long pause as the locomotive takes on water. Calbourne was laser scanned by the Kernow Model Railway Centre in order to produce the model. The data from this scan, in conjunction with drawings of the original locomotives, allowed them to make accurate models of the prototype, and we can see that the proportions of the model are spot on. Most of what you see is made of plastic, i.e. the running plate, boiler, smoke box, cab, etc. But the weight of the model is just about acceptable. I've had it hauling 3 coaches without any issue. The handrails on the boiler side and around the smoke box door are of metal, but the cab side handrails are just part of the body side moulding, and so miss something of the finesse of the actual locomotive. Let's indulge in a spot of rivet counting for a moment. You'll notice the two nut heads to the right of the cab handrail. Well, the scan picked that up and it's replicated on the model. Or how about these 3 screws on the running plate? Yes, they're there on the model, complete with what looks to be like 1 screw missing. I like the sweep of this copper pipework, which wraps itself around the steps leading up to the cab. This is replicated very well on the model. You might notice, though, that the wheels of the rear pony truck are missing some of the lining that the real Calbourne carries. Likewise, you can see that there is also yellow lining on the main driving wheels, which is not there on the model. One of the criticisms I read of the model online was that the brake rodding was too thick. Here it is compared with the brake rodding on the real locomotive. It's slightly thicker on the model, but I think it looks okay. You can see daylight between the frames and underside of the boiler, and this clack valve is neatly piped through the top of the splasher, all replicated accurately on the model. However, a red plate gives the merest rudimentary suggestion of the motion, certainly nothing like the motion as modelled in Rapido's recent 01. The spectacle windows are missing their brass frames on the model. It's just one of the small details that you find on the actual locomotive, a bit like the unlined driving wheels, that aren't there on the model. Curiously though, the window frames inside the cab have been modelled to a much higher standard. When I first saw the model, I was intrigued by the holes that you can see above the rear cab window. Sometimes such holes can be the result of tooling variations within a model, such as those on some models of the Hornby Terrier. This is to allow for different configurations of pipework that might exist on variants within the class. I thought this might account for the holes on the O2, but no, they do exist on the prototype as well, although I'm not exactly sure what their purpose is. The same holes can be seen along the roof line inside the cab as well. Originally, the O2s had small bunkers, and this has been accounted for in the tooling variations available on the model. In 1932, a much larger extended bunker was given to all the locomotives on the island because of the lack of adequate coal space. You can see on the model how the bunker extended further beyond the profile of the running plate. On the back of the bunker, the builder's plate is a raised detail forming part of what I think must be the moulding. Metal lamp brackets are separately fitted, as is the coupling hook. The buffers, however, are not sprung. The bunker on my model is where the speaker and stay alive have been housed. On this side of the model you can see the Westinghouse pump mounted on the side of the smoke box and the air reservoir atop the water tank. These were provided for the operation of air brakes and the automatic push-pull system. As I lean out of the window you can see and hear the noisy pump in operation as fresh water arrives on the adjacent platform. On the model, the pump, air reservoir and its associated tangle of metal pipework is very well modelled, and back at Smallbrook Junction I had a chance to film this as Calbourne prepares to run around its train. Now that I've compared some of the features of the real locomotive with the model, in a moment I'm going to be looking at the sound features I've had added to the model by Richard at Roads and Rails, who not only added a DCC sound chip, but also a stay-alive unit in the bunker. Wheel Tapper's DCC sounds recorded the sounds you can hear here being emitted by the locomotive, so it will be nice to have the actual sounds produced by the model. I'll go through the sounds that can be produced by the model when it's stationary. F1 brings the sound on. F2 and F3 are whistle 1 and whistle 2. F7 injector. F8 automatic uncoupling. Notice that the locomotive inches forward automatically. F10 guard's whistle. F12 coal shovelling. F13 water filler. F14 safety valve. F15 cylinder drain cocks. F23 coach door slams. F24 wheel tapper.
You may think me a little stupid, but why do they tap them?
Well, you see, it's like this, madam. If I tap the wheel with this hammer and the wheel goes clang, then I know the wheel's there, you see?
Yes, but suppose the wheel doesn't go clang.
Well, then I know the train's gone.
F25 Westinghouse pump. This has been operating as a random sound while the locomotive has been stationary. As the model backs onto the coaling stage, I'll demonstrate the Stay Alive unit by lifting it off the tracks momentarily. As you can see, the wheels keep turning for a few seconds, and even the sound continues. This is a great feature for short wheelbase locomotives like this 044, but I've found it quite a hard job to do it yourself, as space is often very limited, particularly in this 02. Sometimes it's hard enough just fitting the DCC decoder, so I was happy to let a professional like Richard at Roads and Rails do the job for me. It's time to head off to the station to pick up some coaches. Here is an example of F9 curve squeal as it's listed. As the model goes over the curve of these points, and a reminder of the real Calbourne exhibiting some curve squeal. The ex-LSWR coaches I'm coupling up to are, like the locomotive, also a recent EFE product. From 1904, the London and South Western Railway started building 4-coach cross-country sets, resulting in about 75 in service altogether. In the 1930s, many sets were reduced to 3 coaches, as in this 3-coached fixed set, number 253, in malachite green livery, which became a 3-coach set in 1938. Interestingly, one of the coaches became a camping coach in 1953. Let's listen to the sounds of the model as it hauls cross-country set 253 around the layout. We're now approaching the small station on my layout known as Weydon Priors, which, like Melchester, is a fictional name created by Thomas Hardy. Weydon Priors appears in Hardy's novel The Mayor of Casterbridge, and it's the village where Michael Henchard sold his wife while he was drunk. The train terminates here, and we'll watch the locomotive run around its train. This is where F8, automatic uncoupling, comes in handy, as it inches the locomotive forward, pauses, allowing me time to uncouple, and then inches back. The driver whistles his presence to the signalman in Weydon Box, and then crosses over to the other line. The locomotive backs down onto the coaches to prepare for the return trip to Melchester. So far we've had a good opportunity to hear the wheel tapper's sound file emanating from what is a small speaker in the bunker of this small locomotive, and although there's not the space for a larger speaker that tender locomotives afford, the sound quality is nonetheless quite good. I think this is a testament to Richard's from Roads and Rails knowledge of the best quality speaker for the given situation. For the final section of this video and the return journey of the train to Melchester, I'm going to switch from the sound on board the model to recordings that I made myself of Calbourne whilst on the Isle of Wight. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that visit to the Isle of Wight Steam Railway to see the only surviving Adams O2 and the comparison with the Kernow EFE model. It just remains for me, Chris, to wave goodbye via the live cam positioned at Haven Street Station and to say thanks for watching and bye for now.